Alright, so we are inside Adobe Animate. If you've ever used Adobe Flash before, this is basically just the updated version. So with Adobe Animate, I've gone out into the internet and pulled down a character rig already pre-made from adobe.com. And here we've got this little tiny character. You can tell he's kind of like a stick figure here. He's got these little arms and knees and everything. And so what I've done ahead of time is I've already transformed him into an armature. And to see that armature, there you go. These are all the little tiny bones that are sticking him together. So he is not a bunch of these little floating pieces because I've gone ahead for you and actually joined him together in this kind of little bone structure. You'll see that he's made of a whole bunch of different tiny pieces. Each one of these pieces is a individual object, and this individual object can have its own physics and elements that occur to it. We can actually go inside of an individual object and have it do its own thing, but that can also cause crazy catastrophe down the line. So we're not going to touch that one quite yet. So we've got our little dude right here, and because he's got these bones going on inside of him, they allow us to treat him basically like a puppet, almost like he's glued together here. So if I lower that arm, I can raise that elbow, and he'll pretty much stay wherever that guy put him. Now, in Adobe Animate here down at the bottom, this is our timeline. And this timeline is going to really rely on keyframing and in-betweening, just like we did for the ball bounce. So say, for example, I've got my character here, he's kind of mid-stride, and let's say I want him to, I don't know, fall on his face. He's literally bounding and going to collapse. Well, let's say maybe it's a 30-second clip, or 30-frame clip, excuse me. I'm at 24 frames a second, so if I wanted to make a 30-second clip, of course, I'd have to do a little bit of math there, but 24 frames, that is 1 second of animation right there. So I'm going to right-click and input here. We'll just plunk in a little frame right there. And let's say, well, maybe he's, so we can't just grab him here. Oops. Kind of turn him around there. I'm grabbing onto his hips. And we want to move him down and around. Just gonna grab this here. And something like that. So I've got all the pieces selected. I'm just moving them with my arrow keys right now. That looks pretty good. You know what, let's have him, he's gonna literally bash his face on the bottom of this table here. That looks pretty good. So he goes from frame 1 to frame 24 here in 1 second. If I want the computer to do a little bit of lifting for me here, it is automatically in between. You can see right there. Now there are some problems with this. You can tell where the joints and the bones are kind of falling apart. That has one part to do with the skeletal structure, and also the fact that the computer doesn't realize this is an actual figure of a person. Instead, all it knows is this is a shape, this is a shape, this is a shape. It sees them individually, and it knows get those shapes from here to here, and it is going to do anything that it can to get them there. So along the way, you might have to kind of reconstruct things just a little bit in order to make sure that those joints stay together. And again, I'm just using the arrow keys here. So that looks a little better for that knee, right? So there's going to be a little bit of a cleanup process. Now let's say that on his way down here, maybe right about here, I'll put in a new frame. Right about here, what if, I don't know, I feel like maybe this leg, whoa, just broke his ankle there. Maybe this leg is kind of flying in the air. Maybe his hands kind of flail backwards a little bit, right? We'll bring this arm around, and he is just going head on in, and it is not going to be good. Let's pull that leg back. So there we go. All right, so we've just added in a new frame. So he goes from here to here to here. So maybe he tries to save himself there. But you know what? Now that I'm looking at it, I like his hand back. Don't really like his hand all the way here. So let's go ahead. We're going to flail that arm back again. I like that better. And what's cool is because it's on this frame, it will stay there. So there's one position, there's the next position, right? So now we've got this smooth kind of motion happening, right? Again, we can just kind of keep playing with this fella. You can see how quickly, 1 second of animation is not all that long at all, right? That's pretty quick. That's pretty quick. Now, it does look like he's floating a little bit. I want to work with gravity, so let's see. Maybe I can move these back just a hair. Let's see what happens. Get him on the ground maybe a little bit quicker. Now see how, fast and then slow, fast, slow, fast, slow. See that? So what's happening is it's very quick here. We've only got a handful of frames right there, right? 8 frames. Very quick to go from A to B. But then from B to C, really, really slow. So we want to shrink that down a little bit more. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna drag this right in the middle there. Let's see how that looks. I'm hitting enter to play. I could also use my buttons down here to play. Okay. All right. You can always hit loop right here, and that way I can just keep watching it again and again. Let's see. There we go. Yeah. I mean, we're getting somewhere. It's a little bit better, but still not great. So what we want to do is just keep on keeping on, keep working until it feels like there's a little bit more motion here, a little bit more oomph to our little character. So whoa, let's see, really give him a smack there. Maybe there's a little bit of recoil, like with your ball bounce, a little bit of squash and stretch, right? And maybe I extend some extra frames here. Maybe now for this frame, maybe now he's actually like on the ground. Just grab it from the hips. Whoa, undo that. Falling flat. What do you think? Give him a little twitchy foot right there. His arms fall flat. I'm just moving his entire torso down to the kind of ground level here. Now, if you're doing your animation, I would highly suggest that you just make a plane, a line right across. I'm using the bottom of the canvas here for the floor, and to be perfectly honest, it's not all that professional. All right, so he's completely down at this point. Let's see how that looks. Down, up, down, up. All right, so it's a little bit better. All right, a little bit better. There's some waft in those arms. See that? Whoop, whoop. Whoop, see that? I don't like that as much. I think that's from this frame right here. Let's have his arms go a little bit further back. Let kind of gravity's pulling him down towards the earth. Look at that, like just his arms are just rubber hoses down, down. That looks a little bit nicer. See, we don't have that pop as much as before. Those legs are still pretty wafty. All right, look at that one leg. This guy right here is very wafty. Let's let him kind of linger a little bit more. I'm going to go back to that keyframe. Just like those legs, let's really stretch these things out. He is coming down hard. So there's kind of a little bit of air, and then he's going right down, smacks into the ground, right? Let's see what that looks like. Down, down, down. So a little bit of waft as his legs right here, and down. So what we want to do is play a little bit with that distance. Maybe, what do you think, right about here? Let's make a new frame. And now we're here. Let's see. Let's see if we can introduce a new pose. We'll put that knee right down just like that. So maybe the knee hits first. Yeah, there we go. Looks like I broke his ankle there. That I'll have to go back and fix that as well. Let's see, bend that knee down, bend that ankle up. Let's see, maybe this arm starts to come down a little bit. And again, we can go back. What's great about doing any kind of animation in programs like this is you can always come back and fix it later. So down, down. I really want to put a pop on that head. I want to have his head kind of bounce up and back down. So I'm going to come back. We'll say he hits right here. Let's see, he hits right there. I'm going to put a little bit of a pop, kind of on purpose, right there. Insert pose. And really all I want is this head to come up and then back down again. So let's see what that looks like. Down pop. All right, so that pops a little bit too much. Tup, tup. Yeah, that's too much. So what we can do is kind of keep playing with our timing and our pacing a little bit until we get something, there you go, a little bit less of a pop there, a little bit smoother. Kind of pull his head back. Oh, how far can we stretch this? Let's see. Maybe that's too much. So you can have fun with it a little bit here and just see how much you got. Now, at this point, I've got some form of animation. It's only 1 second long. For your particular animation, I want it to be 30 seconds long. That is way more time, so you're gonna have way more time to set up. Maybe he's going for a jog and then he trips and falls. What happens after he falls? Does he have, does he try to stand back up again? There's a lot more of this story that you could tell. Also notice that my character, because we're going so quickly here, the character really has no sense of weight, right? He's just kind of wafting down towards the earth. So you want to definitely think about a little bit of that squash and stretch. You want to think about kind of easing in and easing back out, all of the principles of animation that we talked about in some of our video watching and our research. When you're totally all done, that's when you go back and check those poses again, right? Check and see, oh, you know what, this arm right here is, or excuse me, this leg is not where I want it to be. So I'm going to grab this here. This is my free transform tool. You can grab that guy and just kind of place him back where he's supposed to be. Now what's nice is if you have interest in doing any kind of puppet animation like what we're working with right here, the most recent form, 2019 Adobe Animate, actually has a new form of parenting. What we're using is a bone structure. We've actually gone ahead and built a skeleton for this little man. But with the new parenting, as if you've ever used After Effects or anything like that, you can actually have a much easier time when it comes to animating our little character. So again, we can have a little bit of fun kind of touching these things up, and I would just go through each individual frame, go back and kind of clean these things up a little bit, make sure that they're not disjointing, that they're not falling apart. This is of course just a very bare bones introduction to Adobe Animate. I hope that you guys have a little bit of interest maybe being formed here. Maybe you might want to engage in animation a little bit more, but I thought it'd be cool to teach you a little bit about puppet-based animation. Going forward, we'll move along into 3D animation, and we'll see where we can go from there. So, with that being said, have a good time kind of playing around here with our little puppet man, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much, guys. See ya.